The high quality lead is the one that's actually ready. They are in your target audience, right? They fit your persona of who's going to get braces on. They had the money, they're qualified back, they understand it, and they're ready to start. So when you think about a high quality lead, those are the things that you need to think about. Are they your typical patient? Are they going to start? Do they have the money to start, and are they ready?
Welcome to the Neon Buzz, where we offer marketing advice for oral, aesthetic, and other elective healthcare professionals. Sit back and relax while we share our digital marketing secrets to help you grow your practice.
Curt, hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for having
too.
me here.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're going to talk about high quality leads today. When we say high quality leads, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about a lead is there's two things you need to think about when you're thinking about leads. One is the law of averages, meaning that you're going to close a certain percentage of your leads, and you probably know what that is, industry standard versus kind of where you're at. And you should always be tracking that as a metric. If you're thinking about KPIs in your business as a doctor, these are the one of the things that you want to look at. How many leads do you bring in? How many of those leads convert to a patient? And then tweak those levers based on that, right? So if you know that you've got to talk to 10 patients, you got to get 10 consults in to start a new one, and your goal is to have 3 starts a day, then you know you need 30 patients in there every day, right? Now, obviously, I'm just throwing out numbers there to make sure that you guys understand what conversion looks like. But a high quality lead of those 30 is the one that's actually ready. They are in your target audience, right? So they fit your persona of who's going to get braces on or who's going to get a nose job this week. They had the money, they're qualified back, they understand it, and they're ready to start. So when you think about a high quality lead, those are the things that you need to think about. Are they your typical patient? Are they going to start? Do they have the money to start, and are they ready? That's when I think about what a high quality lead looks like.
That's good. So what would you say is the most important ways to get these leads, these high quality leads?
The first thing I'd say is obviously hire us, right? Because we're really good at it.
There you go.
Right? We know how to do this. But if you're here because you want nuts and bolts, you want inside baseball, there's some things that you can do in your practice right now to start getting high quality leads. The first thing is you have to understand your target audience, like who you're seeing every day, and then understand that's who you need to target, right? So if every day you're seeing kids in your practice, kids and moms, but you're over here targeting college students, then you may not be targeting your right persona, your right audience. Now, college students are certainly a candidate to get braces. There's no doubt about that. But they're probably not in your sweet spot where if you're going to go spend $1,000 on ads this month, that you're not targeting the right person. So the first person is, if you see moms and kids in your office all day, that's who's there. Let's make sure that's who you're targeting when you're running your ads, right? So it's not this like huge shotgun blast approach. It's more of a precision laser to say, hey, we want to make sure that all the moms and 25 to 40 that are within a 5-mile radius of my practice with household income of $100,000 a year plus are going to know who I am. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the first piece of that is understanding who those personas are and then making sure you know where to target them. Right.
So is that like a general rule of thumb? Like your target audience is the audience that's coming into the office, or do you see who's coming into the office and you want to like kind of shift that target? Does that ever come up?
Yeah, because even within an industry, you're going to see this separate. So let's just keep talking about orthodontists, right? We've got 300 of them all across the country. I'm going to keep using them as an example here. If you are an orthodontist who mostly services kids, right, you're doing a lot of brackets and wires, right? You're not doing a ton of Invisalign. You got a lot of kids in there, but moms are the ones bringing the kids. So now mom could use a little revision, or she wants to get her. So your target audience is right, who's right there in your office. Okay, that works. However, but what if you look around every day and it's 16 to 40-year-olds in your practice all the time, right? And you're doing almost all Invisalign, right? Because you're targeting adults. Both of these are part of your personas and demographics that you should be targeting. But practice A does a ton of brackets and wires, kids and moms. Practice B does a ton of young adults, or older adults in their kind of watershed. Maybe they're changing jobs, they're not happy with their smile, or they've gone through a divorce or something like that. There's something they're not happy about, and they're in there for you to fix it. And that's your sweet spot. You would rather have the young adult than do the kids and moms thing, right? So at that point, you start to figure out what you like to do, who is in your office all the time, and then you're doubling down on that.
So it makes sense in that case for a practice to be open to like evolve into like a different demographic. If they go into this, thinking, oh, this is our target audience, but then they see what you were talking about, this, this other group that is coming in that they're getting a lot of traffic from, that may be who they want to start targeting. So, I mean, that's what it sounds like, being open to like evolving,
Yeah. And I see this all over the place, right? I've got clients in California who are 80%, 90% adult patients. And then I've got my business partner, Dr. Kyle Fagler, right here in Germantown. Whereas it depends on what time of day you walk in there, right? If you go in there at noon, you're going to see a bunch of young adults. If you go in there at 3:30, you're going to see an office room full of kids, because he understands both of these personas work for me. Both of them can help me grow my business. I can serve both of those markets, and we can do it at a really great high level. And so I don't have Dr. Kyle's breakdown of patients for you right now, but I bet if I did, that you would see, 30% are kids, 30% are young adults with some type of revision, whatever. And then that other 40% is like this mix of like the moms, the dads, the teen brother. They're not ready for braces, but you've got them in your system. They've come in, you've done, a scan on them. You know what their mouth looks like. You've got a percentage of those people in your lead base that you need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've been dealing with ads for a long time, and everybody now is wanting ads, Meta ads, Google ads, and all this. Like, what would you say is the proper way to use ads to leverage getting quality leads?
The first thing is you can't hit home runs if you're not swinging, right? So when we think about what's the best way to do it, first start doing it. Like we talk about this all the time, where people love to come tell me why they don't run Google ads because nobody clicks on them. Well, okay, you explain to me then how Google does $1 billion a year, over $1 billion a year in ads if nobody's clicking on them. How does that work?
Yeah.
So let me tell you something. People are clicking on the ads. Now, it might not be your buying behavior. It may not be my buying behavior, but it's somebody's buying behavior that they're clicking on the ads. So the first thing you got to do is play baseball, swing, right? First thing you need to be doing is swinging. So you need to have a budget for Google ads, right? And then as you think about social media, the way that Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, those are kind of your two big heavy hitters. They've got an ad platform. So if you're running on Instagram, you're probably running it on Facebook or vice versa. It's not that hard to do both. That's where you're doing more of your work to retarget, right? So somebody's been on your website. Now when they pop on the Facebook and Instagram, it didn't convert. I'm going to, hey, do you want braces? Are you not happy with your smiles or something? Here's a $99 payments, right? You're going to have multiple different pieces of creative to target that buyer who came to your website and left without converting.
So, Alex, you're talking about the target audience. Can you dive into that and just kind of give us a little more information on it?
Yeah, because I keep talking about buying personas, right? We know these are. So when we think about where those people are and targeting, that's when we're starting to get into the inside baseball, the nuts and bolts of what we are doing here as an agency to get great at this, right? So you're a millennial mom. There's a good chance I'm going to be able to target you on Instagram, be able to find you on there, right? I've got a good shot of thinking that at some point today you've logged on to Facebook or Instagram and you've done a little bit of scrolling. That's the first thing that I want to understand is, okay, I know who my personas are. I know that I'm targeting moms. Where do I find them, right? And then you spread your wings from there, right? You've got blogs, mom blogs. You've got the grocery shop, the grocery cart in the shop, and you're going to put your website at the bottom of that, right? Or you're going to have a QR code or something they can scan that drives them into a digital lead funnel. So the first and most important thing is understand your buying personas, but then you got to know where to find them, where to target them, and how to target them, and using messaging and imagery that resonates with them.
And really being intentional with what you're putting in front of them. I think that's like a key thing to like the success of like grabbing their attention, something that is polished, refined, and thought out.
Yeah, because if you're that practice that is the the moms and kids, right? Like that's who you're seeing all the time. But then your ad is like a young professional, 24 young professional just smiling. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Your ad should have moms and kids in them. It should be the smiling kid, the mom. It should be where they are. You should be sponsoring sports leagues. You should be present. You should have a playground with your name on it, right? You should be out there in the community doing things that are impactful so that when people, moms and kids, see your name, they're resonating with that. And they're also starting to remember, their brain subconsciously is remembering all the other times you've targeted them. Oh, I've seen that before. And everywhere I go, I see Saddle Creek Ortho. It's on my kid's jersey. It's on the shopping carts. It's on that playground. And then now I'm seeing them online all the time.
Yeah.
I'm making you ready to buy from me, right? I'm getting you comfortable with who I am, what I am, and the messaging, so that once you do come in, everything that I present you, this experience that I'm going to give you, matches everything that you've seen leading up to this point.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
why,
makes you ready to buy.
Yeah, and I think that's why that visual consistency is like so important, that they do remember.
When you talk about that consistency, that this is where people screw this thing up, right? Is because Billy came in and sold you an ad in the local Clipper magazine. Now Billy's the magazine's coming out in 2 weeks. He's got to get your ad out. The ad company's now designing that because you just signed up for it. You were too busy to get your brand right. Well, next thing you know, now 5,000 homes just saw something that does not match your brand because you just threw it together. And I think that's where working with a company like Neon gets that right for you, because we want you to run the ad in Clipper. That's cool. Do that. But send it to us and make sure that it looks right. It's on brand. It's got the messaging that you want to deliver for people so that it is consistent.
So, Alex, you talked earlier about, casting a wide net, but how do we get that precise approach to where we can get like the leads that are going to start and that are going to get the ball rolling? How do we do that?
Yeah. With us, it's a little bit of both, right? It's you want a wide enough net that you're getting the lead flow into your practice to meet your sales goals. That's important. But now there's this next level of, how do I make sure that these leads that I'm getting on the phone with are ready to buy? And that is part of your process of, once they get onto your are you asking the right questions with them? Or you got to understand how to qualify that lead first quickly. And that's not really what we're diving into today. How does the agency figure out and target that right? Is we know where they're at, right? So let's say that I am targeting kids and moms again, right? Well, first thing is, am I running an ad? Never gonna drive. She's never gonna cross Poplar. She's never gonna go eat. Right? Like, sure, in the map, in the demographic map, when you're doing your targeting, it looks like that mom would be, but she's not. That's one of the first things you're doing, is like you're not running ads to the right places. Maybe you need to shrink that down to 5 miles, depending on the area. But if you're in rural Georgia, then you probably need 30 miles of it, right? So the first thing is understanding where you're at. And then inside that circle of demographics that you are targeting, where your sweet spot is. Okay, so that's the first thing, is where and what. Now, what about those modifiers on, okay, well, I'm running ads to the right people, but they're coming in and their teeth aren't clean. They don't have the money. You've got these kind of other issues that you're going against that are making your leads not great leads. We've got to figure that part out too now. So now's when we start to get into more segmentation of our audiences, where, okay, yes, I want to target that mom within the 5 mile radius, not the 15 mile radius, but I also want a household income of at least $60,000 a year, right? So that I know when I do get on the phone with this person, that this is somebody that if I get them in and they want to get braces, they want to get Invisalign, can afford to do that, right? So I think that's some of the pieces of the pie where you can start to get really savvy and real sophisticated. Is don't just take these huge general shotgun approaches. Is start with the shotgun and then put the choke in the shot for all my hunters out there that changes what that shotgun blast, right? So instead of blasting it like this, we got a shotgun, but now we're blasting it like this. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so within that blast like this, you're looking at things like age, location, money, how much money they make, that type of demographic targeting.
So that kind of leads us into the buyer's journey. You know, we've got them, we're in front of them, we've got them on the hook. What do we do? What do we do there?
They say it takes 6 points of contact before somebody's ready to buy from you. So as you're thinking about this journey, you need to be thinking about those points of contact, right? So that you've got the lead in there, but what have you done with it, right? Like, do you have them in an email campaign? How are you talking to them? Have you created the awareness around your brand that, they filled out a form, but like, are they ready to buy from you too? Did they get a couple of referrals from friends and say, oh yeah, my kids went to saw Dr. Kyle, I love him, he's great. That's where you have to start thinking about your brand from the 30,000 foot view. That is, where are you touching these people? Mm-hmm. Where all are you getting those points of contact from, those 6 points of contact? Because sure, the sales process is a few of those points of contact, but if I can knock it out by sending you an email, being in the grocery cart, your logo is on my kid's jersey, just like we talked about before, then that awareness and getting into the community and working on the referral programs. Are you getting referrals from local dentists? Are you getting integration with the schools, right? And so every time somebody thinks about, oh, well, who is your orthodontist in your community? Is it you? Right? And if it's not, if it's your competitor, you need to be looking at that. And you need to really understand that. One of the things that you can do if you want to be the top orthodontist in your market is be a thought leader, right? How are you talking to people to let them know that you are who you say you are? Because yes, you're doing it for the mom, but your kid's not reading your blog, right? For the mom, you're telling them like, hey, when should my child see an orthodontist, right? You've got a blog on your website that talks about, you're doing, you're 7 years old. So you're using thought leadership to really prove to people that you are who you say you are. But it's not just for that mom, it's also for robots. It's also, you've got to create a content strategy that's going to help you rank well, but it's also got to be readable content that people are going to dive into, right? And there's other things that you can do. You can teach them what to expect on the day that you come in for the journey. That's where you let them know, hey, go get your teeth cleaned before you come to the orthodontist, right? Like there's a lot that you can do with that lead to get them ready before they get into your office with great content. And that's where, again, this isn't a sales conversation about Neon Canvas, but working with a group like Neon is where there's no way you can figure all this out. There's no way you could watch this podcast and be perfect at it. But there is a way that you could call us and have our team do these things for you where you're checking every single one of these boxes. Mm-hmm. And that's really the way to approach your marketing. It's not do this over here, do this over there. It's to do it holistically, really in one place with a company that understands all these things and already has a system in place to deliver them for you.
Mm-hmm. And then in doing so, you're going to have a consistent message, a consistent identity, and that's going to resonate with the people seeing everything.
Well, and then it comes down to you figuring out, like, where do you tweak these levers? Like, are my prices a little bit too high in my area to get what I'm looking for? Do I need to do more financial type targeting, more conversation around money? Or do I live in an extremely high income zip code I'm targeting where like money is not an issue? And now it comes down to aspirational identity and what does my brand look like from the perspective of who am I and how do people think about me, right? It's Starbucks coffee for the person that's targeting the young professionals, that sort of thing, right? But it's a wall of candy and Dippin' Dots for the one that's targeting, the kids and teens, right? So you got to understand, are you the Dippin' Dots office or are you the espresso office, Yeah. And then that trickles down into your ads and the way you talk to people and what your brand and messaging looks like. You can be both, that's fine, but you better know who you are if you're trying to be both, But if you don't want to be both, you need to know, like, man, I want young adults in here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I need an espresso machine and martinis. Mm-hmm. I don't need a wall of candy and Dippin' Dots.
Yeah.
You can't be everything to everybody.
That's right. Alex, that was great. Let's put a bow on this thing. Hit me with a few key takeaways that we can give somebody to get started on this process.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I've talked a lot about today are those buying personas. That's the first thing I want you to go figure out. Emily on our team has written an incredible blog about that. We'll drop it in the description so you can kind of first understand. Like, go dive into a little bit of content, a little more. Too long didn't read, right? Go and see those few key takeaways, right, that we've got for you on how to target who your buying personas are, who your target audience is. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. You got to decide which way you're going to do it, and then you got to be consistent with it. The other thing I would say is understand what your marketing budget should be and how that's going to be deployed. If you are a growing practice, you're young, early in your practice days, you probably need to be spending about 10% of your revenue per year on marketing. And then I can help you figure out, or we could dive into that, or a number of practice consultants, how to spend that 10%. But first of all, know what your ad spend is, know what your number is, and then let's divvy it up in the right places. So 2 things: know who your buying personas are. 2, know what your budget is to target these people, and then where you're going to go do it. And then the third thing is, I'd say you've got to get consistent with your messaging. When I earlier I talked about the Clipper ad. Cool, run the Clipper magazine ad, but make sure that it looks and feels and talks and acts like you want to look and feel and talk and act. Those are the 3 most important things I think you can do, right? Understand your personas, understand where, how, and how much you're going to use to target them, and then get consistent with your brand.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. There's a lot of good stuff. If you want to know more about some marketing tips, like and subscribe to our channel, and check out that blog down in the description. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks.